Hi there. So today I'm going to be doing a talk about the heart and womb connection. And it's a new moon. So happy new moon. The new moon is happening tonight if you are in the States on the East Coast, or even on the West Coast, it'll still be tonight, this evening. So I wanted to do this talk because the heart and the womb are so very connected. And we're in the season and the sign of Cancer, and this is everything to do with the womb space, but it's also a lot to do with the chest and the breast and that energy center of the heart space. So this connection and this talk is really inspired by where we're at astrologically, and every year, I can tell you, every year around Cancer season, there's always this push to reconnect with the heart space and the womb space, to do deep healing work for those parts of ourselves that are connected to nurturing. Because when you think about the heart space or the chest, and you think about the womb space, these are areas that are connected to nurturing, to mothering. So the breast, of course, the chest is connected to breast milk and possibly nurturing new, like a baby. And the womb space is where we nurture and really have this space of creation for a possible baby, or for our ideas and our hopes and our wishes and our dreams. So no matter where you are at in life, you have these connections to these places of nurturance in your body. So let's talk a little bit about the energetics of the heart and the heart space. And thank you for all the hearts that are coming through. I really appreciate them. The heart space is our place of receiving emotional information. It's where we process emotions. It's where we learn to just receive information, emotional information. Because emotions are very much information. They tell our body like how we feel, what's happening. And based on how we're feeling, our body will put different processes into place. So our feelings and our emotions are connected to the actions that we take, and there's an actual energy field that the heart has. And if you look online, you can look up like heart torus, Torus, I think it's spelled. And that's going to show you images of this energy center of the heart. The heart does actually have its own like electromagnetic field, and it's something that can be picked up on by, of course, machines like electrocardiographs and those kinds of things, because there is an energetic field of the heart. And so this is, of course, a physical thing, but it's also very much connected to energy and emotions. So when we experience emotions, we experience them through the heart. And you can read about this in like Chinese medicine, but the heart and the womb are very much connected. So the energy of the heart goes down into the womb. And so if you're someone who has a menstrual cycle, then any heavy emotions or any emotional disturbance or anything like that, that all gets processed down into the womb space, because every month that energy moves from the heart to the womb, and through the womb space, through the menstrual cycle, and through the uterus, I should say, more specifically, the uterus expels blood, and that blood not only releases that physical quality of blood, that physical, like the actual blood, but also we're releasing emotions. So we have this way of being able to release emotions that have built up over the month, which is really powerful. It's really wonderful to have that way of releasing things from our body. So again, that's the heart energy moving down into the womb space. And there's actually different like wheels of energy that are happening within the body. And so the heart space is really important when we're talking about womb health and womb wellness. And so if you're someone who is experiencing any kind of menstrual imbalance, it really does help to look to the heart space and look at what the heart is holding, what the heart is processing, and see how that's playing into your menstrual cycles. And you've probably experienced this, but I don't know, every menstrual cycle, there's like this wave of things that you kind of go through when that energy is moving from the heart down to the womb. So at menstruation time, there's this kind of like flow of emotions that happens. There may be anger, there may be frustration, there may be feelings of like hopelessness, all these emotions that could have been received into the heart space through the month are now moving down into the womb space to be released. So as that travels, as that process is happening, and as those emotions are being moved out, we feel it. And that a lot of times is connected to the like menstrual symptoms that we experience. So it's not just like this phenomena of, oh, I'm going through all these emotions, I don't know what's happening. There's a release happening. Your body is sending those emotions, which hold information, down into the womb space, and that way they can be released with menstruation. So the whole reason I really started to explore this connection for myself was an experience that I had with an acupuncturist, and I went and was doing acupuncture for my womb space, for menstrual balance, and I was told by my acupuncturist that I had emptiness in my heart, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what that's about. And so I asked questions. I was like, okay, what could this be connected to? What can this how can this actually be showing up for me? And I thought about challenges that I could have to love, and to receiving love, to giving myself love. And that really opened up a whole a whole window, a whole door into this room of things, including childhood experiences and kind of feeling a lack of expressions of love as a child. Like actual vocal expressions. Being a Gemini, I like to hear things. You gotta tell me. If you love me, you gotta tell me. And so growing up in a household where, because of, family things, ancestral things, there wasn't really very much communication in that way around communicating love. So that could have been something that weighed on my heart as a kid. Also, of course, something that a lot of us experience is the way society kind of teaches us to love ourselves, especially people who identify as women, people who are in menstruating bodies. There's this idea, there's so many contradictory messages out there around what it means to be and to express a feminine energy, and what that could look like, and how that can be perceived. And there are lots of limitations around how much we can love ourselves when we look at society and what society tells us. So these learned views of what it means to love ourselves, and how much we can express ourselves, and how maybe we've been taught to hide certain parts of ourselves, certain parts of our bodies, because that's not acceptable, or this is not acceptable. That all plays into how we can love ourselves. So I know that was a big thing for me growing up, just all the mixed messages, don't show too much skin, you're prude, or you're I don't know, what's the opposite of prude? Promiscuous, or something like that, prude or promiscuous. And both of them are negative. And so there's this idea of having to close off parts of myself. And then when it comes to the menstrual cycle and learning about the menstrual cycle, a lot of us, I know for me, I didn't really learn that much about the menstrual cycle when my cycles first started. I didn't know anything about hormones and how it worked and how it was connected to the moon, all those magical, amazing, wonderful things about this cycle that connects us to nature, this cycle that is a cycle of nature happening in our own bodies, all this menstrual mystery and magic and power that the menstrual cycle holds. I didn't learn about any of that. I learned that it was something to hide and not to really show. And all of that, again, is connected to how we feel about ourselves, because if we're taught or learn, if we learn something through experience or through omission of information, we could hold back from loving ourselves more, because if we're shutting down this part of ourselves, then that means we're saying that's not acceptable, that's not to be seen, and that plays into, of course, self-love as well. And so there's all these little things that can come up as I looked back at, like, okay, what are the ways that I could have blocked myself off from love, and what are the things that could have led to this kind of like emptiness in the heart space. And those were some of the things, thinking about ancestry, thinking about childhood, thinking about things that I've learned about what it means for me as to be a woman and to be a menstruating person. All of those things played into self-love. And so all of that energy, all of that blocking and holding and cutting myself off from myself and from aspects of myself that are really important for me to be in, to fully be in myself, all of that travels into the womb space. And for me, I of course experienced a lot of menstrual pain. I experienced a lot of menstrual imbalance. And when we think about how that plays out as far as healing and the healing process, to me, I think to how much difficulty I had at first with really doing practices that were about loving myself. Because it was kind of easy to step into like, okay, I'm just going to change my diet. I'm going to do these steps. I'm going to, do these things that are kind of more linear. And all of those things were really helpful. That's not to say that those weren't really helpful. But when it came to spending time with me and my womb space, spending time on massage, spending time on steaming, all of that was kind of challenging. It was kind of hard to keep up with because I had so many challenges with self-love, and I didn't realize that I had this block with the heart space and had these kind of barriers around how much love I could experience for myself that were just learned things from childhood and from life and society. And so this message from my acupuncturist was like this opening to unlearning and an opening to learning how to really access deeper self-love in order to have more menstrual balance, because that was the whole reason I was going, was for that menstrual balance and for that insight into how I could help myself further, because I had done so much already. I'd done all the things, the diets and all the other changes, and I was looking for something that was deeper because I was still experiencing a lot of pain in the first day of my cycle. So now let's move into how to restore that connection, how to restore this balance between the menstrual cycle and the heart space, so the womb and the heart connection. So for me, that has taken so many different forms, but one thing that I really, really found to be powerful is working with plants. Working with plants that are focused on the heart space and are focused on that heart energy and bringing up that heart energy. So one of my favorites, absolutely favorites, is linden. I don't know what it is about linden. Linden has this really, it's a tree. Linden is a tree that has beautiful, when you see a linden tree, it has these little white kind of like C curve looking things that kind of hang from the leaf, and they kind of branch out like that. And when the linden tree is in bloom, it's just like beautiful green and then beautiful like white flowering like little white things that are hanging with the leaves. And it's so, so beautiful. Definitely look up a linden tree after this talk and see if it's something that you connect with. I know for me and my ancestry, I think linden is definitely connected ancestrally. That's part of the reason why it was so helpful for me. But linden has a beautiful fragrance. It has a very distinct fragrance, and fragrance to me just does something for activating different parts of my body and different parts of my memory, and the fragrance and the smell of linden was really powerful. But linden as a heart medicine is really helpful for creating space in the heart, for creating space in the body and in the heart for being open to what the heart holds. And so when I work with Linden, I notice that emotions are easier to process. Emotions, it's easier for me to receive love when I'm working with Linden. So oftentimes I'll work with Linden as a tea. One summer was like going Linden crazy. It was like early summer, like late spring, early summer. I had made all of this, I had collected all this Linden, and I made Linden like ice cubes, and I was putting them into my summer teas and things like that. And that's something that you can do. So when Linden is in season, you can brew it as like an infusion, and then put it into those ice cube trays, put it into the freezer, and you can have it and just like drink it throughout the summer as like a nice little thing that you can add to sun teas and things like that. But I found that it helps to soften and allow me to experience more of my own emotions, and allow me to see what it is I'm feeling and what it is I am experiencing. That way things are actually getting processed instead of just like coming and then kind of being held and me not allowing them to be processed, because I didn't learn as a kid how to process some of those emotions. So I found that Linden helps with processing and receiving and experiencing those emotions in a way that doesn't feel intimidating. So let's see, brew the leaves of Linden, or what part? So actually you would brew the little white flowers. So when you see a linden tree in bloom, you're gonna see that it has like these little white flowers that look more like a little bit more like they look like little flat bananas. I'm not really sure how else to describe it. There are little flowers that come out, but then there are these little things that almost look like leaves, but they're white. And when you see the linden tree in bloom, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you look for a linden tree online, like a flowering linden tree, you'll see that it has all these white things hanging from it too. And that's what you use. So if you were to collect it, of course you would want to just use those white parts and leave the leaves. So and then the next herb that I wanted to mention is motherwort. Motherwort is amazing. Motherwort is an herb that is very much connected to remothering ourselves. It's connected to how we are processing our emotions through our heart space. Motherwort is an herb that I've used when I'm about to start my cycle and I start to feel it's like all the emotions are coming through. Remember I mentioned how when the heart energy moves down to the womb space, the emotions that were held in the heart are the emotions that kind of collected throughout the month and things that we've experienced, that also moves into the womb space. So when day one comes, all of those emotions are traveling. And I used to experience so much anxiety, so much stress, and just kind of like fear around all those emotions moving down into the womb space. And what I felt was just anxiety. I didn't realize that I was, having all these emotions moving and ready to flow out of my body, and I just felt anxious. And that anxiety would actually bring on a lot of pain. So I found that motherwort helps to calm the heart and calm that process for me of those emotions traveling from the heart space to the womb space. And it helps with anxiety tremendously. And motherwort is a nervine herb as well. So it's for the heart, it's also for the nervous system. And for me, that was really helpful in, just bringing down that anxiety. And reducing that anxiety actually helped to reduce a lot of pain that I would experience because of anxiety, because anxiety is inflammatory. It's bringing up heat, it's bringing up inflammation, it's telling the body that something is wrong, there's something going on here. So motherwort helps to calm that down, and it can help tremendously with pain. And also it helps us to understand, like, okay, there are emotions that are moving through me, but that doesn't mean those emotions are me. They are allowed to flow, and I can let them release. And motherwort is really amazing for that. And just that, also that idea of remothering ourselves and connecting those parts, of course, the heart space and the womb space, which are all about nurturing. So how are we nurturing ourselves? Energetically, motherwort can help us look at how we nurture ourselves. So motherwort is an herb that does have an impact on our hormonal balance, does have an impact on the thyroid. So if you have a thyroid imbalance, then you definitely want to speak with an herbalist or speak with like a naturopath or someone that can guide you and let you know if motherwort would be a good fit for you if you are experiencing hormonal imbalance. Because of course that could be connected to the thyroid. So you want to make sure that's not an issue for you. But otherwise, motherwort is really a pretty safe herb. It's an herb that can help with heart palpitations. So it's, again, for anyone who does experience heart palpitations or irregularities of the heart, motherwort is really great for strengthening the heart. I like to take motherwort in tincture form, so I'll put just like 20 to 30 drops in some water and drink that. If I'm experiencing like an anxiety attack or something like that, motherwort really, really helps to bring that down. And I would also say, motherwort is really, really bitter. It's a bitter herb, so it does help also with supporting the liver. And of course, the liver, anytime we're talking about the womb space and womb hormonal balance and menstrual balance, the liver is going to be involved because we're talking about blood, we're talking about hormones, and the liver plays a role in blood and hormones in a very big way. So motherwort can help with supporting the liver. It's a very bitter herb, like I mentioned, and bitter herbs also are really supportive to the liver. So that's motherwort, very big connection to the heart space, to the womb space, and also to the liver. And then I also wanted to mention rosemary, and rosemary isn't one of the herbs that I would commonly work with, or that you would commonly hear about connected to the heart space and womb space, but I find that rosemary is really, really helpful for this heart and womb connection. Rosemary is an herb that does have really great qualities for the heart, for the physical heart and supporting the heart. But rosemary is also an herb of remembrance. And to me, when we can remember who we are and how to connect with ourselves, how to love ourselves, then that's huge for any type of healing. Rosemary is also very protective. And I feel like anytime we're delving into, opening up the heart space and doing some heart healing to have that energy travel into the womb space, it does help to have a little bit of protective energy and something that's kind of saying, okay, I've got you. And you're safe and you're protected and you're held here. So energetically, I like to work with rosemary, incorporate that into like a heart massage oil. And I would do some rosemary, rose petals, linden, and even a little bit of motherwort into that heart oil blend. And you can just use all dried herbs, equal parts, put them into a jar, and then cover them with a little bit of oil. Make sure that they're covered and the oil is, there's like a little bit of oil on top. And let that sit for at least 2 weeks. When you let that sit for 2 weeks, then you can strain it off afterwards and use that for a little bit of heart massage. I find that to be really helpful, and you can also use it on the womb space as well. And just see how that transformation starts to open up for you as you're just noticing, paying attention to when your cycle is about to start, or if you are not cycling, maybe paying attention to just the times of the month when you notice that there are a lot of emotions moving through your body. That would be a time to really tap in and maybe work with that oil, maybe do a heart massage and womb massage. And if you don't know how to do womb massage, just gently rubbing your belly is okay. That's a good place to start. You don't have to have all the techniques down, just connecting to those parts of your body, putting your hands there, lightly touching and gently massaging can be really, really helpful. So the other herb that I wanted to mention was, it's a flower essence that I work with, which is San Pedro. And San Pedro is a really powerful medicine plant that often is worked with in like bigger, long journeys when you're working with it in the physical form, but I'm talking about it more in the form of energetics and working with the flower essence. I found that San Pedro flower essence is amazing for opening the heart space. And as I was working with it, I started to notice how much my heart was starting to open to myself, how much I was starting to notice little ways that I was blocking myself from loving myself. And again, Cancer season, this is all about self-love. It's deeply connected to self-love. And I found that San Pedro is really powerful flower essence for connecting to self-love. And so just a few drops in water is really great for opening up the heart. I like to work with it. I'll just put a few drops in, like directly underneath my tongue, and then do a meditation on the heart space. And for me, doing that meditation, I would have these visions of just flowers blossoming out of my heart. And I was like, whoa, this is really, really cool. And at one point, I don't know, you just start to really connect with the energy of flowers. And that's at least what happened for me. And that flower energy is so powerful. It's loving, it's attracting, it's a really pure and powerful energy to have in the heart space. So because that was so powerful for me, I actually created a guided journey for you. It's a free download, and you can use the link in my bio after this talk to download that and to try it out for yourself. And it's all about flowering, having flowers blossom from the heart, and having that connection between the heart space and the womb space through the energy of flowers. I found this to be so, so powerful and really opening. So you can do this guided journey and then try doing a womb massage either during or after that guided journey, and maybe working with an herb like I mentioned. Maybe you could work with the San Pedro flower essence, you could work with the linden tea, the motherwort tincture, or the rosemary herbal oil, or even just having some rosemary nearby and having that on your heart space or in your womb space as you're doing that massage. Okay, so let's see. Have you heard about motherwort for fibroids, or the recipe of the Yellow Emperor, from the Yellow Emperor book, that uses motherwort, cronewort, and maidenwort to fix reproductive issues? I have heard about motherwort for fibroids, and it's something that I have actually recommended to clients, and something that I put into formulas for clients. And it can be really, really helpful. With any of these herbal remedies, I would also say, yes, work with them as herbal remedies for the physical body, but also tap into the energetics of those plants. So maybe the first time you take it, you put just like one drop underneath your tongue and let it sit. Let your mouth start to water and let it kind of absorb into those glands in your mouth, and that goes directly into your bloodstream. When you swallow it, it goes down into your digestive system and goes through your digestive tract, which is good, and that's really great and helpful. But sometimes when you can have it go directly into your bloodstream, you can start to have that more direct connection with the plant. And that's what I would recommend. Maybe just one drop or 2 drops, because when you're working with a tincture, there's alcohol, and that can be kind of, you don't want to burn yourself. So that's why I usually put tinctures in water, but just 1 or 2 drops underneath the tongue for that energetic support. And asking the plant, like, what needs nurturing here? Because when there's fibroids or growths in the body, which is very much connected to this, any blockages of the heart, any times where holding in emotions, holding in energy, that energy gets stuck in the body, and it's going to show up in a physical sense as well. And those energetics and emotions play into how our body is now creating hormones, how our body is responding, because emotions are information. Emotions are information for our body, telling us what to do, how to do it, what processes to put in place, where do we need to close things down, where do we need to open things up. That's information for our body. So all of our emotions and feelings are telling our body what to do and what's happening. So if there are emotions and feelings that are telling our body to hold on and to be careful, something's going on, we can't let go, then that can show up physically in our bodies as well. So working with motherwort and asking, what can I let go of? And I love motherwort because it does help with stimulating the liver and supporting the liver, and the liver is all about, that stimulation is all about releasing. So you have this support of physically releasing things that could be causing blockages in the body, but then you also have this support of asking Motherwort, where can I nurture myself? What emotions do I need to nurture and release? What ways can I help myself in this process of remothering and nurturing myself? And just pay attention to what comes up there. And then, of course, continue taking the Motherwort in whatever way your herbalist recommended or your practitioner recommended, as far as like working with it for that physical aspect of doing that liver support and hormonal balancing and nervous system support that Motherwort does have in the physical sense. So that's something I wanted to share about that, because there's when we have these blockages of the womb space that are cysts, fibroids, adhesions, all of those things. I mean, those are all things that I experienced in my menstrual journey. And so these herbs and these practices between the heart space and the womb space are really helpful for shifting those things and being able to basically, being able to soften. Because when we open the heart, we soften the womb. We open the heart and we soften the womb. And opening the heart and softening the womb creates space for things to be released. And that's what's really important for any of those physical manifestations that are happening in the womb space. So support yourself with herbs, and also support yourself with that self-care and self-love, doing some visualizations and working with plants in the energetic sense as well. So that's what I wanted to share with you today about the heart and womb connection. I definitely encourage you to try that guided journey, that guided visualization that I shared with you for that heart opening, and see how that shows up for you as you continue to work with it. I would say work with that visualization pretty frequently, and start to notice how things will shift with each menstrual cycle. And this is something that you can work with, I would say, right before bleeding and right after bleeding, but especially right after bleeding, when you're wanting to kind of create space for a new cycle. So each cycle, when the heart energy moves down into the womb space and you shed with menstruation, you're given this opportunity to say, okay, how do I want to approach this next cycle? What am I making space for? How am I opening myself up to greater love for myself? And how am I going to show myself more self-love? So right at the end of bleeding time, that's a wonderful time to set an intention for how you're going to show up for yourself and how you want to nurture yourself through your cycle. And so do the visualization at that time, maybe do a little bit of massage, womb massage for yourself, just gently massaging your belly. You don't have to apply a lot of pressure. It's more so about connecting to the heart space and the womb space. And then see how you start to feel and see how that shows up for you throughout your cycle. I would say continue doing that visualization for a few days, and just notice the ways that you may want to start shifting things in your day-to-day life around creating more space for nurturing yourself. And we have the new moon in Cancer, so this is a wonderful time for working with that visualization and opening up this connection between the heart space and the womb space, and really starting to bring awareness to what your heart needs for greater love and how you can more fully nurture yourself and love yourself, and how that's going to show up in your womb space. Because I can tell you, for me, doing this, it's made it easier for me to keep up with my self-care practices. It's made it easier for me to just check in with myself. And I'm someone who can just go and go and go and go and go and just work and work and work and not take time for myself. And for me, this heart and womb connection really helped me to slow down a little bit and just have little check-ins. It doesn't have to be like this big, like, oh, I'm just going to take 3 days and I'm not going to do anything and I'm only going to do me, which is great. You can do that too. But for me, having just little points of check-in and just saying, okay, what's my body asking for right now? Am I loving myself enough to honor this thing that my body needs and my body wants right now? That's the daily work. That's the daily process of self-love and kind of unlearning all those things that I learned from childhood and all the things that I absorbed from just teachings of news and media and society around the feminine form and menstruating bodies and menstrual cycles and all of that. So greater commitment and love for myself. Being able to step into those practices has been really helpful in shifting my menstrual cycle. Also, like being able to let go of certain foods and things that I was attached to because I was seeking love. And so wanting these, like sugar was a big one. Being able to reduce my sugar intake, having these self-love practices was really helpful for reducing the sugar intake, because that to me was connected to sweetness. It was connected to this desire for greater love for myself. And being able to have the sweetness in my life come from how I'm taking care of myself, or making shifts that were about releasing things that were blocking myself off from nurturing myself. That was really helpful. And of course that plays into the menstrual cycle, because sugar plays a role in inflammation and how we experience our cycles. So those little changes that need to be made in order for us to have greater menstrual balance can sometimes be helped along when we have more self-love and we're able to make those shifts and changes a little bit more easily. So I definitely find that it can be helpful for that, and would encourage you to see how that plays out for you and see what changes you're able to make with these practices. Okay, so this is a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm really happy I got to share all this information with you, and I really hope you enjoy that guided journey. And happy new moon to all of you, and thank you so much for coming. This was such a fun chat, and I look forward to talking with you again for Leo season. Leo season is coming up, and actually all this Cancer season, like self-nurturing, self-love, is such a great setup for Leo season, which is very much connected to the heart. So this heart and womb connection visualization that you can download, this will carry you all through Cancer, the rest of Cancer season into Leo season, and I really hope you enjoy that. And the other thing was, I have Archetypes of the Menstrual Cycle workshop coming up at the end of this month, and I'm so excited about it. It's going to be so much fun. I've been waiting to teach this workshop. It is all about the archetypes, and as you know, or maybe you don't know, I'm a tarot reader, and I've been working with tarot for many, many years. It's something that my ancestors also worked with, and I had this really powerful download one first menstrual bleeding day, and started to connect the archetypes that are in the major arcana to the phases of the menstrual cycle. And to me, this was just so opening, so mind opening, and helped me to better understand the phases of the menstrual cycle, helped me to understand them even more deeply. So that's what this workshop is about. It's about the archetypes and the phases that they're associated with, how to tap into the energy of those archetypes to transform your cycle, but also to transform your life and really approach life with more ease, and be able to tap into the natural cycles that your body is going you through. And it's just completely transformed the way I look at menstrual cycles, the way I approach my intention setting, the way I approach doing manifestation work, but also the way I approach my creative work and how I'm creating things and pulling things into my life in order for those creations to become bigger and to make more sense for me and my energy. So I'm really excited about that. Archetypes of the Menstrual Cycle will be on July 28th. It's going to be a live workshop, and I hope to see you there. There's a sliding scale options for you if you want to join. There will be a recording that will be up after the live workshop. And yeah, I'll be talking about it more as we get closer, and you'll hear about it. But for now, that's it for today, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. I'm going to be doing another Sacred Journey talk, and I'm going to be getting into some of the things that I have learned in coming to my path as a menstrual health practitioner, combo practitioner, and anything that could help you if you're on a similar journey of doing healing work or having your own practice. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday, and I hope you have a wonderful new moon. And it was so lovely for all of you to join me. Bye.